Guess who's back? Guess who's back again? It's me. I'm back. Tell a friend. So yeah, I guess I'm casting like the first half of this game now. Alright. Florida versus LA Battery. We're already late, so let's just get started. Now looking at the difference between these two teams, you have the LA Battery, who's been in a pretty unfortunate place for this entire go-around, to say the very least. They're now currently in 8th place, I guess? What is this? Okay, so, oh boy. Okay, so someone used to make it so that the league table had the actual order that the teams were in, but it no longer does. So LA Battery is still in last place in the league, granted, not exactly for not for reasons necessarily in their control. I forgot to change the color settings for these two teams. I'm a bot. Feels bad, man. Well, it just be like that sometimes, I guess. Alright, so, I mean, it's basically fine. So our boys in blue here are the blue battery, and Florida basically is the same color that they would be anyway. So I think that this is fun. It's not exactly, ideal, but what is in this league? One thing that I can tell you is certainly ideal is my casting. You're all welcome. Now going on to it's going to be the attack of the battery first to go around, and the defense is going to be pretty stalwart. They're playing the Ratty Junkrat for Dreaves and Mr. Sind on this Torbjorn, ready to send his turret into the fray with his new toss. The question is, how much will they find in the way of results this time around? It should be interesting to see. We'll start with they're going to get the turret of Mr. Sind already taken out. God damn it, not London, is Battery. Oh, they're actually going to teleport right on up using the teleporter, to everyone's surprise. First kill's going to come out onto Killer. They're trading evenly until the Killer gets res, putting the favor back inside of Florida just a little bit. This isn't a bad place for Florida to be, and they're going to be happy to have a pretty strong defense to start with. Now, I just have to take out this Zarya of Ben Soccer. They don't want him to stay alive with all the charge that he has, but will they be able to finish him off? Apparently, Aviquinox will manage to get the final kill. Dreaves is coming up on this Riptire, as is the Killer on his Shatter. The question is, will they be able to use these ultimates to their fullest extent and stop these next pushes before they even begin, or will they fall? There isn't much that can counter Dreaves with this Riptire, but you don't need very much to counter it. You just need a single lucky hit. Everyone's in a box, everyone's in a can. This is a place, and yes sir, thank you ma'am, for a Riptire to come out and give the rest of the Battery team a bad day. He's going to go a little bit ahead of the curve and manage to at least take out a tasty cookie, but that's not nearly the fight-winning ultimate that he probably wishes that it had been. The Killer has this Earth Shatter, just waiting for the enemy team to hop down to ground level so he can get a chance to use it. Unit Saber coming up on his as well, but until he has it, this is going to be a pretty advantageous situation for Florida and the Killer. They're actually kind of choosing to rotate here, a bit of an odd positioning to be in. Battery is taking so long to actually push down onto this point. They waited so long that they actually let their opponents get the advantage of the situation. Unit Saber is going to get the pin off. He didn't even need the nail for that. Now he's going to be so far away, will he even manage to follow up with much of anything. Okay, he meleeed the tire. I'm glad that we all saw that, so that I know that I'm not insane, but he has meleeed the tire. Battery managing to find the best of their opponents in this fray so far, and they're going to be needing to finish this up pretty soon. Only a minute and a half left to go, and they don't want these respawns to come out. Aviquinox will eventually get taken down. He doesn't have the resources to keep himself alive in that situation for too much longer. Minute and a half left to go as they capture the first point. That'll put them at basically 5 minutes, 20 seconds to go after the second. But what really matters here is the ultimates that are going to be coming out. We see Ben Soccer has this Graviton Surge, and while D-Cubed is now on the Zenyatta, he doesn't have the ultimate, the Transcendence, in order to counter the opponent's ultimate just quite yet. And if he doesn't have that, and the side of Florida lets himself get caught out, it's not going to be a very nice looking start to this map. Mr. Sin gets an early pick onto Tasty Cookie, and now the Riptire comes through from Dreves, gets taken out early. Trying pretty evenly as the Unit Saber gives her a little trip up in the skies. Unit Saber now gets a nanoed, but it's a bit of an odd time and place to do it. He doesn't find anything with the pin in, will just get melted. A bit of a wasted ult and a bit of a wasted opportunity to the side of the battery. Gilgamesh has his rally ready to go, wants to give his team a bit of a health advantage going into this next brawl. Sind is now swapped off the Torbjorn onto this Doomfist. He's decided this is the play. Bit of an interesting decision against the exact team that he's going up against. In fact, I'd go as far as to say it will probably backfire quite severely if he's not careful. Both sides about to have their Graviton surges, but Dreves makes sure that this next fight won't begin for quite a little bit longer as he takes out Gilgamesh before it even gets underway. D-Cubed requires aid, and the rest of his team is going to require the aid of his Transcendence sometime quite fast if they want any chance of surviving the Graviton Surge. Keep in mind, Ben Soccer's had this for so long, and he's just now choosing to use it, just before D-Cube could get a hold of that Transcendence, but will it be soon enough? D-Cube finally brings it out. The Gravitons from both sides now being popped, and it's looking like Battery is going to struggle here. They're going to manage to get the kill onto Aviquinox and onto Dreves, but will they manage to follow up with any much more? Those spawns are so close to the defending side. I don't think this is going to be enough. They might get a tick if they're lucky, but they're asking for a bit much if they think they're going to find anything more than that. Ben Soccer's got on the hamster. He wants to get back and help his team as best as he can. As fast as he can. It's not going to be fast enough. Unit Saber gets taken out before Ben could even get his little furry hamster ball onto the point. It's already going to be a lost cause, and it's looking like he might be ready to swap. Swapping onto the Zarya. The score has still not been updated. Feels good, man. Mr. Sind has his ultimate rocked, ready to go. Just getting a little bit of a good position. He wants to get aggressive with it. He can use it for an escape if need be. What he really cares about is finding an early pick. Dreves is now on this Sombra. Playing a safety beacon, but the beacon cannot save Man on Fire. Gets taken out first. A nice trade will come through, and now the hack. Unit Saber getting bullied quite a lot. The life of a main tank in 2018 is not a life that wants, is not a life for those who like surviving battles. And we see that as the killer is actually the first to fall. Unit Saber gets healed quite enough to help him survive through that fray. Speaking of survival, D-Cubed scrambling to try and find the last vestiges of this Transcendence ult charge before he gets melted down. He knows how important this will be for his team. He just needs to find something, anything, but he gets pinned in the wall. All he finds is the hard clash of his metallic face against the rock. The killer wanted to try get back on the point. It's going to be a little bit of a struggle. Can Man on Fire even touch? He cannot. Very early first capture for the side of the battery. And now we'll see whether or not their opponents can follow suit. Should be interesting. Florida has always not only kind of emphasized themselves, but have always only really found success when they played a very aggressive sort of strategy. So we see them usually try and lean more towards that when given the opportunity. And now that they have this opportunity on offense, we'll get to see whether or not they can survive and thrive in their natural element. The harsh desert sand has not been friendly for the side of Florida so far, but they're hoping to get a little bit more friendly with the sand. Good casting, by the way. I know I'm a good caster. No one ever sees it because I have to cast without a color caster. but man, I am good. But now the question is, even though I'm good, will Florida be good enough? They're playing very strong, very aggressive heroes. Both their DPS have the ability, the potential, the strength to one-shot basically anyone who's unlucky enough to cross their paths. It's going to be the killer who's unlucky enough to cross the path of a mine to begin with. Mine and a trap. Luckily for him, he'll get the sustain, the healing. He'll survive it. But now they have to lay siege to a pretty well-laid defensive position. A trap coming out, the killer getting trapped again, but he'll have his shield as well as the support of the rest of his team. He could pin in here and he'll decide to do it. He'll pin the diva into her supporting Orisa. Now it's a bit of a brawl here, but the killer will find the kill onto them. Mr. Send also getting in their back line. The swift ground pound and uppercut. Call him Ryu because he just went Street Fighter on the lab. 7 minutes left to go. Florida want to show that they're an attack team. They're the offense of the league. Call them the Mafia. Rattling. They're ready to rip and tear through the enemy team, but they'll have to try and rip and tear through a rip tire. If they want any measure of success, they'll get the first kill onto a tasty cookie. That's not a bad place to start from. The killer has the shatter, decides to use it, but the rip tire manages to find 3. That's going to be almost impossible for Florida to recover from. At this stage, all they want to do is try and retreat. There's no way that they can win this fight. At most, all they're going to do is feed. Gigantic riptire puts an end to the snowball potential, and Jereves now using his or his Dragon Strike. I'm not quite sure why, unless he's looking for a swap. Yes, he's swapping onto this onto the Sombra. It's a bit of a weird choice, I think, because there's nothing on the enemy team that can technically survive a Grav Dragon combo. The enemy team doesn't have a Zenyatta or even a Lucio. So it's a bit of a weird decision, I think. Have the opportunity, they're going to get the hack on the Reinhardt, but Dries will get slept and get taken out, punished. Mr. Sin will go in a little bit deep. He has this ultimate as well to try and follow up with. Still waiting, buying their time. A Diva Bomb will be thrown in behind them. Mr. Sin tries to punish him for it, but doesn't quite find it. Man on Fire doing a pretty interesting job, some body blocking going on, but as soon as that Transcendence comes offline, he's going to be decommissioned himself. Gilgamesh will get some kills, and ultimately speaking, Florida's struggling.
Get ready for a shock! Double.
Get through this! I got you covered. Nerf this!
My ultimate is ready.
Now show them. Bomb!
Огонь по готовности!
Death comes.
All systems checked out! Follow the creep!
60 seconds minute.
Allah! Team
Get ready for a shock!
Get into position. 30 seconds.
Ready to deploy. We don't have much time. Set up.
And now I'm going to go ahead and fix this, because they are green. Green versus gold. I like that color scheme. I like that color scheme a lot. I could explain why I couldn't talk. I'm just not going to, because it'll take too long. We're going on to the next map, which is Oasis. Gross. Oh, just making sure. Can I be heard now? Because I actually don't know. You guys hear me? Can I be heard? You guys hear me? Hello? Hello? Perfect. Okay, yeah, you can. Alright, it's fixed. And that's the only trade that we're having, so let's go right in.
Welcome to Oasis.
Alrighty, well, Florida kind of stumbled there a little bit, one could say, but now they're hoping that here they'll get another opportunity to get a fresh start. Go back in. Hey there, Kigo. How's it going? They're hoping that they'll get a fresh start to come back in and try and win the second map. The first one didn't exactly go their way. They got hard stopped for about 7 minutes on second point. They could just never figure out the equation, the idea, the theorem of how to crack the code that was the opposing team of the LA Battery. But this time around, we'll see how the teams do on a bit of an odd map. Now this Oasis map in particular favors a lot of high ground. It favors a lot of the ability to jump up and escape away, so dive tanks generally have an advantage as long as they know how to use their mobility to their advantage. We see that quite a lot here. Well, really it's about half and half, so you have 4 people on the Battery's team who can stay right around the air, who can jump around quite a lot, but then you have the 2 of Gilgamesh and McCree who really have no mobility. It'll be interesting to see whether or not that will end up being a weak spot for the side of the Battery as a whole. Meanwhile, in the air, Fuka is trying to duel the opposing Pharah and gets him low, but isn't able to confirm the kill. Meanwhile, Fuka realizes that someone's being a little thorn in his side, sending bullets his way every so often. Saber winning a lot up in the air, but Fuka winning against his rival on the ground. Beautiful Wing takes out his counter, and it's looking like Battery are going to be the first to take this. Fuka was never able to do enough damage in order to really benefit the rest of his team. He managed to win against the opposing McCree, but just because you win one duel, if you're not contributing to the actual team fight, it can be pretty deadly to your team's chances of winning. But what Fuka did do was quite a lot of damage. Even if it didn't really get too much out of it, he did enough damage that he will have his barrage before Lucas. Now he's just going to be looking for a position where he can use it from. Meanwhile, Saber ready to dive down onto the enemy team. He sees the opportunity, kind of stalling a little bit here now. He feels a little bit like he's getting some wet feet. A Tasty Cookie beats Fuka this time around. And Battery sees out an opportunity to go in, especially as Lucas gets his barrage and connects it onto 2. Saber will get the kill onto Mr. Sind, and now they're chasing him all the way back to spawn. No mercy. They want to get this D-Mech. They want to leave him as a baby. And with that, the retreat will be had, and Battery will have a pretty sizable advantage. Equinox swapping, and then swapping back onto the Diva. Interesting call. It's going to lose him a bit of ult charge, but I think he made the trade-off in his mind and is okay with it. Meanwhile, Mr. Sin sees where all the opposition is. Doesn't want to get hit by a car. Make sure to check both ways twice, kids. Unit Saber sees the Discord, sees all the low HP targets, and wants to go for the kill. But Ben Soccer is the one who's going to take him out, not with a Tickle Tesla gun, but with a nuke. Man on Fire tries to get a little bit of resurrection done, but I can't imagine that's going to do more than just leave the killer to feed. As he finally gets rezzed and gives quite a lot more ult charge. The battery is doing so well here. The DPS line, Ben Soccer, everyone's just stopping this from even being a question as they manage to take the first map. Really well done from them. Really well done from the battery. It just seems like every single time in the actual team fight structure, in the actual brawl that begins, they just seem to always get the better of their opponents. And I think a large part of it is because they do have that much more mobile team. They did have so much more in the way of speed and really just focus, I think. So we saw it from the very beginning with Lucas not looking at the opposing far, but looking right at the ground at where he could do damage and help support the rest of his team. And it just felt like every single time the cards would always go up heads for the side of the battery. And did I just say the card would always go up heads? I'm such a failure. The round would always go up in favor, as the battery would have their full house array set up to go, but the opposing squad would be happy to have an ace high. Lucas prowling around, he sees a big clump of bodies and wants to do as much damage as he can. He's going to get quite a lot of ult charge for his troubles. Not quite able to save the pinned target there, so he's kind of going to have to leave him to his fate, but now the killer kind of rat-holing himself, pigeonholing. He sees it. Lucas wants to actually get in really close here. It's a bit of a dangerous game to be playing, but dangerous game is for dangerous men, which Lucas has shown himself to be, and it's getting them a little bit of dividends so far, but now with only 5 health, he's so weak, even a baby diva could get the final hit. It's going to be Florida finally getting a foothold onto this point, finally getting a foothold onto this game. Starting to show that maybe they do have the chance, at least, of a victory, but they're going to have to hold on. It's going to be a wild ride. Mr. Cinder almost doesn't survive the first fall with the enemy. Mr. Sin swinging around the flail best he can. Hold right click to win, as they say. The point is getting captured by the lab, but eventually someone's going to have to go back and contest that. Meanwhile, the entire side of the LAB slowly falls one after the other. They need to figure out what part of their formula ain't working and send it back for testing. That's fine. Your boy just got a meal, so that's nice. Unit Saber takes out Mr. Sin. I'm pretty sure pushes him off the map. Pin comes through with Unit Killer. Off the back of that, quite a lot of kills will be made here. We're at 60% the point capture already. But meanwhile, on the actual team fight, it looks like Lab doesn't want to take this one falling down. Instead, they'll take it. Instead, they'll just take it. Yeah, there you go. I was going to think of something else to say, but no, there's really nothing else you can say. Zen orbs being thrown around, trying to get these last few stragglers, and they'll succeed. So it's going to be the Lab finally getting this second point. They don't want to let this go, even for a second. Really, at this stage, what it comes down to is the battery basically need to win about 4 fights, maybe 3, in order to win this. Meanwhile, their opponents only need to really win 2. So who will be the first to take this clash? Trying his hardest. He holds it for so long, a Tasty Cookie, that actually has enough damage to break through the Rhine shield, and after using 1 shot to break through that, he'll have plenty of firepower to take out an additional 2. Meanwhile, Equinox is doing so much damage on his own on the point, whether it be with the Diva Bomb, or whether it be with any other means. Unit Saber now on the point. He wants to try and delay it for as long as he can. He has to escape in order to get a little bit of sustain. But going for that escape will cost him the point. It would have cost him his life either way. Looking at these scores here, we see this is last fight territory. Florida just has to take one more, but they're already one down. They'll get the res. The sword slash comes in, will take out Mr. Sin. The counter to the slash. Got you in his sights, says the soldier 76, but how well can an old man see? Apparently old enough to get into a duel with a diva and a monkey and still end up coming out on top, as Florida will take that map. Starting to get a little bit more competitive as the Florida side. They see their opportunity. They can take this map, make things even Stevens. So now, how does the battery react? They don't like that they've just lost that round. The first time they won because they played to the advantage of the map, but the second time around it just seemed like the pure force, the vitriol of the Florida side fueled them, powered their guns, and let them rattle straight through the enemy's defenses. When in doubt, goats it out, says the battery. They're basically going to be playing against the same thing. A bit of pseudo-goats, though. Fuka is going to be an interesting place here. If he can... All of this is going to depend on Fuka, really. If he can get the first kill, if he can get the first slam into the wall, it's going to be so massive, so huge. Instead, he doesn't look for a squishy. He goes and looks for the Rhine. But he'll get the kill onto a tasty cookie, or at least get most of it. Is going Florida's way to start with. But Gilgamesh goes into the back. That was interesting. But Gilgamesh sneaks in through the back line, does quite a lot of destructive damage with his laser. It's looking like Battery, despite being a man down to start with, will begin with a point up. They have this Diva Bomb ready to go. It's the only ultimate at their disposal. We don't need to talk about that, Lucas. I know what you were going for. We all know what you were going for. It just so happened to not work out, and that's going to be the battery on the defense. They don't have that defensive matrix, so they're going to have to try keep themselves alive, sustain for just long enough for that off-tank to come back around. Hammer slam, thank you ma'am, comes through. Lucas also throwing his into the fray. Will it find anything? Apparently not. Until it gets the DMEC. God, that's like the third time that's happened to me. Gilgamesh has this Graviton Surge. When is he going to pop it? He sees so many juicy targets right there, but I don't think that he thinks that there's a follow-up. No, he has enough charge. He knows that he can take him out all himself. He doesn't really just need himself. He has a whole team of friends to help him along the way, and if Yu-Gi-Oh! Taught me anything, that's all the power that you need. Lab, after a team kill and 5 of their members on fire, will manage to take back the point. Neither team wants to let this go, give this away, let the other team, either for the side of Florida, they don't want to let the Lab get too far ahead, and for the side of the Lab, they don't want to let Florida even feel like they have a snowball's chance in hell. Unit Saber gets pinned, taken down by the killer. Meanwhile, Ben Soccer is going to get the push off onto Mr. Sin. The U-Bomb comes through, doesn't find anything because it was in a little bit of an odd position. We're now at 60% and counting. Gilgamesh taken down. This is all about keeping this point alive now for the side of the battery. The slam will come through, but the beat will also come down. Equinox finally gets pushed into the hole until he gets booped out of it by the Lucio. The battery is sustained for just so long that they're actually managing to reconvene onto this point. Ben goes for a little bit of a push-off, but he can't quite manage it, so instead he's just going to have to be happy for the fact that his team is currently at 85%. They have the Brig ult in order to sustain them. That's about it. It wouldn't surprise me if they lost this fight, but they want to try, and even if they do lose here and now, they want to get enough ults to try and come back around in the next go. But this fight's actually been going on for so long that they're coming up on some ultimates. Unit Slayer will be the first to fall. 40% of fights, most fights are determined by whoever gets taken out first. Fuka will decide to pin that lead even further for his team with the Riptire kill onto a tasty cookie. Now we're at 99% for the Lab. They have all the ultimates they could possibly want, but they have to reconvene. They have to get back together as a group in order to have the optimal chance of using them for the victory. They're not pushing into much here, but they are still pushing into the killer with this shatter. And if we've seen anything, we've seen the killer have some pretty deadly shatters. They can't forget that he has this. They can't ignore it. He sees the slam down coming through, and Unit Saber manages to catch the killer in its path. The killer swings back around with a shatter of his own, but the numbers are beginning to fall. And it's all going in favor of the side of the battery. Unless a miracle occurs to the side of Florida, it's looking like this is going to be all she wrote. Basically, everyone's dead. Can anyone even come back onto the point? Doesn't look like it. It's going to be the battery taking the second map.
Play of the game.
Well done from them. That's really all that you can say. Look at how fast they all fell. From getting hit by the 100 charge Zarya and the Moira Coalescence, and then just the swinging and the killing and the swinging and the killing.
Just doing my part.
I think that we can all see pretty clearly just what resulted in the victory for the LAB that time around. The lab, they kind of struggled at one point in particular, but they still brought it home. And now, I've got probably enough time to do one more map before I have to go. Do we want to do that? Do we want to cut this off at the halftime? Sub in Dreves from Mr. Sind. You know what? If this goes fast enough, we can absolutely do this in time. So let's hope that there's no reverse sweep that brings it all the way to the end. Haha. Because if there is, we're going to be in a bit of a precarious situation. Oasis and Blizzard World. Okay. I hope that you're all ready for the delicious sounds of trivia eating a salad. Because that's what I'm going to be doing while I cast this. You're welcome. So yeah, Blizzard World. It's a map. I don't think it's a very good one. It is certainly interesting. So Blizzard World has the great side of the fact that there are so many flanks and so many different ways to approach the point that you can see just about anything. No two games will really ever be all that much the same unless one team just run goats. But at the same time, I despise it because since there are so many different flanking routes, it's kind of difficult to even predict how any of these matches are going to go. That makes me look dumb, and I don't like looking dumb. If I look dumb, it's the game that looks dumb, you know? Anyway, we're at 16 seconds now. I'm still not finished preparing the salad, though, so that might be kind of awkward. Alright, so yeah, it's going to be the battery on the offense to begin with, just like every other time. Feels good. It's 2-0 in favor of the battery. Barry's going to start pushing up with this Reinhardt. Going to start to look for any sort of opportunity as we see South Florida getting a little bit weak. Battery's gonna try and benefit off of that by going straight in. They managed to find D-cubed off of it. Fuka also goes down. Not a bad place to start if you're the Florida side, or if you're the lab side. Tasty Cookie goes for the flanking McCree, manages to find a killer. The killer on interesting role, we'll say, playing the Mercy this time around. Now it's just kind of a slow burn as the battery will slowly win the day. Somehow, Gilgamesh has already found his transcendence. I guess he's done quite a lot of damage. So yeah, pretty good. Should probably swap it off of Reinhardt at some point, but again, I'm trying to prepare this salad, so it's getting a little bit difficult. Graviton Surge goes out, Blade comes out a little bit late to follow it up, but still manages to find two. Triple kill off the back of Tasty Cookie's Deadeye. Bit of a weird time to commit all those ults. They'll still get the team wipe, but they're still just now pushing it past there out of the spawn. So impressive that they got that kill, or those kills, and they'll be glad to push it as far as they will, but still kind of an awkward time, I think. Image Saber goes in, does enough damage for Gilgamesh to follow up. Lucas, staying around this backside, wants to get as much sort of chip damage as he can. Now he goes in a little bit deeper. The safety of his team. A lot of progress being made on this payload. Trivia, what are you putting in the salad? I like a lot of meat on my salads, as a matter of fact. So it's mainly like a chopped brisket salad. Also, they cap second, so that's cool. Killed Fuka. Man, there's like onions. There's tomatoes. There's chopped brisket. Pretty good. Anyway, Ben. He has this Graviton Surge. He's gonna use it. Okay. The battery is just BMing now. The battery is just going absolutely insane. Lucas is using his ult. He gets pinned to the wall. Unit Saber used his. Like, this is so wild. This is actually so weird. Tasty Cookie coming up on his Deadeye. They're almost certainly hoping that that will be the thing that cements this game for them, because they've just basically used everything else in their arsenal. Okay. Reinhardt goes for a shatter and gets stunned out of it. The cubed will get taken down. This is just one after another. They fall. Dreves trying his very best, but when you try your best and you don't succeed, get what you want, not what you need. Battery's gonna get exactly what they want, and yeah, that's just how it be sometimes. Tequila is one of the best runs in the league, and he goes Mercy. Yeah, I agree. You're correct. This is a weird game, dude. This is a really weird game. Like, both teams are doing very odd things. Like, really, the LAB, the lab, are doing things that should be pretty easily punishable. They're overcommitting way too much. But it's just not mattering, because Florida seems to have like a bit of a weird idea of what they're doing, right? Like, basically, the lab keep going for these short-term plays that should affect their long-term game, but because Florida keeps doing things like charging in, where their Reinhardt charged in to go for a pin and got absolutely deleted. Yeah, Drizzly, if you want to change that, it's been that way. Like, it didn't even get updated during the last game. What's the actual score? It's actually 2-0 in favor of the LAB. Yeah. On the defense now is the battery, and they're picking a pretty standard sort of bunker defense. It's pretty easy to break this, but it's also just about, it's kind of just about how much space the battery wants to give them, and apparently, as Lucas knows that Summer was just there, he just saw her, and Dreves apparently got hit by a mine or something. Lucas goes in very deep. That's a dangerous game to be playing if you're a squishy all alone on the ground floor. Ben Soccer manages to take out Man on Fire. It's a good first pick for the battery if they want to defend against this. Meanwhile, Gilgamesh comes back around the side. He wants to get in some damage. The killer is not shielding his team whatsoever, instead going for a very aggressive style of play. Equinox gets taken down, much like the rest of his team. Fuka manages to get the kill onto a tasty cookie. The question is, just because you get a kill onto a cowboy, does that mean that you'll be able to take down the rest of his barn? Florida captured that somehow. I have no idea what's happening, to be honest. I actually have no idea. I don't think... Maybe I just, like, read all the labels wrong, or my brain farted, or maybe I'm just tired, which I am tired. Florida just captured that, and I don't know how. Anyway, Fuka is in a duel to the death with a tasty cookie, and the tasty cookie will finally get the better of his counterpart. We see all the high ground positions here for the side of the battery, and that will bring them quite a swift advantage, but they've decided to actually fall down to chase after that Reinhardt kill. I mean, I don't disagree with it because it ended up working in the end, but still a pretty dangerous play to make. Anyway, Lucas, he's about to have this Riptire. He's in our house. He has a Riptire. He is not afraid to use it. He knows exactly where all of the enemy are too. Now it's just a matter of when does he use it. He might not even need to, as if Equinox gets taken out, Diva Bomb to begin the fight. It's currently a 4v6, make that a 3v6, all in favor of the lab. Tequila tries to start running away. Managed to take out Ben Soccer, but that's still not going to secure him a fight win anytime soon. Taking out a Tasty Cookie might put things way more in the in Florida's favor, though, as their respawns are starting to come through. Dreves' translocator has been taken out. He knows they can't really afford to go in any deeper if he doesn't have that to fall back to. Goes for the EMP. Bit of an odd, bit of an awkward EMP, if we're being quite honest. He doesn't really seem like he knew who he was going after. Now we see Florida kind of going for the same sort of style that their opponents did when they took. It's a sort of style of just throw everything at them. Don't wait for team fights. Don't do any of that stuff. Just like, if you see an opportunity, go. And it's weird to see it working, but they took second. So, what do I know? Lucas is just spamming from the side. Everyone's seemingly ignoring him. Interesting. Equinox too busy chasing down the rest of his team to give any sort of mind to what the Junkrat looks like. This is very weird. This is a very weird game in like every sense of the word, dude. Lucas is now in the Doomfist. Kind of makes sense. A bit weird. If he gets in a good surprise attack, he can certainly take out Man on Fire and Fuka, bully them quite a lot. Looks like we're seeing a Tasty Cookie going around the backside. Tasty Cookie and Lucas, both DPS sides of the lab, finding kills. Pretty good start for them, and now the rest of their team will follow up shortly thereafter. They'll take out Equinox, setting his Zarya charge back to 0. Now, as far as ultimates go, a lot of them for Florida, to put it simply. A lot of them. Tequila will take out Lucas to begin with, and now, yep, we're seeing all of them come out. Bit of a weird positioning for some of these ultimates. Question is, how much will it matter if you're still doing too much damage for an overwhelming amount for the enemy team to even deal with? However, it's going to in fact be Florida who gets dealt with quite handily by Ben Soccer's Diva, who basically finds a 3K in order to help his team round out that fight pretty quickly. Lucas now looking like he wants to go for a backside flank, or maybe just making sure that no one on the enemy team is. We see him in position now. He's choosing now is the time. Now we go. Not going to get much of anything done, but the rest of his team will manage to get some kills anyway. 3 now down. They want to chase the rest of them. Bit of a weird timing for Lucas to use his ultimate, but if he decided that then was the time, I guess I have to trust his judgment. Lucas finally manages to escape back into his team. He's been quite deep in the enemy lines for quite a long time. And now we see all 6 ultimates were used for Florida. They're still trying to get back any of what they had before, and even if they do their very best, they're still not going to have nearly the time that their opponents do. And if they don't manage to cap with at least some time, even if they do manage to get in the end, they won't get another attempt to retake in the overtime rounds. Diva gets pulled down, trying to get as much damage on her as possible, but she'll manage to escape. Diva Bomb comes through for the side of the LAB. It doesn't find much of anything. Fuka having a lot more success getting a kill onto Lucas. A Tasty has this ultimate locked and loaded, ready to go, but doesn't get anyone. That's not going to be the case for the killer, who gets the shatter onto 3 and a pin down. In a little bit of a precarious situation, will eventually get taken down. Speaking of precarious situations, that basically describes the entire situation for the side of Florida. Managing to kill both supports, but with the rest of his team already dead, Fuka isn't going to really do much in the way of anything substantial. Battery have used basically everything, though. They don't have any ultimates online. They don't have any ultimates that are really all that close. They might get some in the upcoming fight, but it'll be a little bit tough. Oh, Lucas with the surprise attack. So many people right in his sightline. He can get so much done here. He gets the 3K. Lucas gonna shut this down. It was already over. He makes it twice so. The killer's gonna try and touch with only 3 seconds left to go. There's only so fast the hamster ball can roll. This is gonna be a 3-0 lead for the battery. I mean, I think, really, this entire circumstance here basically rounds out what that was. It was a series of ridiculousness that eventually led to the battery winning. Like, that's all that map was. That's all that was. It wasn't any strategy. There wasn't any thought. It was just throw everything we have. At one point, they used 6 ultimates and got 1 pick, the battery did. At another point, they used 1 ultimate and basically got a 4K. What do you say about that? What do you say about that type of situation? Now, this is basically over in terms of actual individual rounds. The question is, sub Mr. Sin for me, okay. And the last map that we're going to be going to. Now it's just about map differential. It's going to be Junkertown. Get down at Junkertown, ladies and gentlemen. Looks like we're good to go, and we'll go right back into it.
Welcome to Java.
I've only managed to crack the surface of my salad. Now, you know what? I was not going to talk. Your boy Trivia is on break until the game starts. Sorry, I'm a hungry boy. Want me to tell you about the salad? Salad's good. Salad's great. I try and get this salad at least like twice a week.
Incoming in 30 seconds.
Here's the thing, right? God, I'm disgusting. It is a chopped brisket salad, Drizzly. It is a chopped brisket salad. Quite a lot of meat, probably too much. Like at a certain point, it's literally just meat and lettuce, right? There are vegetables there,
One. Attackers.
but at a certain point, basically meat and lettuce. Anyway, getting back into the game. See a pretty interesting defensive setup here to the side of Florida. They have pretty good tanks for trying to defend, but it's going to be a bit of a slow go. And Equinox getting a bit weak. No one on his team can support him, so eventually he gets taken down. Drees will be the next to fall. It's looking like a pretty dominant first attack for the side of Battery. They're going to get to move this payload quite a lot of distance. He got him. I couldn't even speak because I wanted to make sure that he got him before I said anything. And ladies and gentlemen, he got him. Unit Saber going in deep, manages to catch a man on fire. More like man on fire strike. Haha. It's looking like they're just gonna give it up. Yep. Side Battery will manage to take the first point. 5.5 minutes left to go. It wasn't that difficult of a time for them. Lucas coming up on this Dragon Blade. Probably hoping as he goes in deep on the enemy team. He probably wanted to find that Zenyatta, and with the slash he'll manage to secure the kill. With using the additional slash he'll get himself to safety. This is just a mess. This is just the side of the Battery being so aggressive, just taking absolutely nothing from the enemy team. I said that Florida was the aggressive team in the league, but no, it's the Battery. Ramming themselves straight through the enemy side. I think it's kind of just a matter of the fact that the Battery just doesn't respect Florida right now. The Battery just doesn't respect Florida as a team. They're just going through, they kind of believe and at a certain level know that they are the better team in this situation. Like, even ignoring the maps, so far just the amount of garbage they've been able to pull off. Mr. Sin hoping to give him a little bit of an education, but it's going to be Fuka substitute teaching while he's out and away in the graveyard. However, Fuka, as all substitute teachers, can only stay checked in for so long before they have to move on to another district. He'll get taken out as well. 5.5 minutes left to go. Side of the LAB. LABIC. Making it all the way to the END. Haha. D-Cubed has his Coalescence rocked and ready to go, but Lucas has his blade sliced and diced. Dives straight in, sees enough juicy targets, goes in, gets the kill on a D-cube, gets the D-mech, once more, finds the little baby. It's gonna be pretty well done from the battery getting a team kill. Again, it's just bullying at this point. Can someone please? Someone... Okay, I was gonna make a joke, but I could not make it, so never mind. That's such a good joke. Anyway, Lucas, trying to stay alive. He's getting tracked by that by that coalescence, but eventually the coalescence will actually take out Gilgamesh. It's looking like side of the LAB mine just kind of accepted their lot in life, maybe given up, but it's gonna be these two tanks still alive who are doing so much damage. They're not willing to throw in the towel just yet. The towel has to be thrown at them before they choose to concede. So much damage has been done. It's literally just been Ben and Unit. It was Ben and Unit versus like 5 guys. And they did so much. Actually insane. Lucas almost gets taken down, but no one's able to follow up as he was only at 76 health. Now it's looking like going forward, we're in a bit of a precarious situation here. If you're the side of Florida, Tasty Cookie is getting in position to try and use this ultimate, but he misses his roll. Now he's taking a bit of an interesting side position. No one sees him coming. He gets the 3K. That should be all that they need. The Meteor Strike coming down, but it's not going to be enough. He doesn't get any kills to start with, but now Avequinox going to be trying his very hardest to keep this payload in play, but there's only so much that you can do against an entire team. Fuka will manage to do enough damage, but only get taken out in the end. Lucas slicing, dicing, hacking, slashing will manage to get more kills for the Blood God. The LAB will bring it all the way to the end with quite an impressive time bank left remaining. And now I go back to eating my salad. I'm not going to tell you any more about the salad. I'm too busy eating it. Whatever. Anyway. Flora know that they're in a dire situation right now. Bad position. Bad place to be. But they've decided, well, hello, friends. I have a perfect idea, says Mr. Send. Just put me on Bastion, because we're on the best Bastion map in the game. And you know what? I like it. It's not exactly a revolutionary play, but it is a bold one nonetheless. And we're gonna see how much it ends up finding them in the end. Mr. Sin gets properly set up. The pull comes through. He dies. Poor Mr. Sin. For the rest of the Florida team, the Bastion Strat is an all or nothing play. If you can't get on the first go around, it's basically over. But D-Cube and Fucus especially, are trying to keep this alive. A supercharged beam can do so much damage, no one can stop you. Especially in those 1v1 fights. It actually looks like Mr. Send might have failed in order to get much value the first time around, but Fuka putting the team on his back will keep things moving right along anyway. Pull comes through, putting them right in position for the Bastion to start eating out, or spitting out some damage. Ben Soccer slowly just getting melted down. It's looking like Florida is going to take first pretty rapidly. Beautiful wing should be the key to ending this, to giving a little bit of support to the LAB's woes. As long as he can just land anti-nade onto the Bastion, it should be pretty easy pickings for the rest of his team. But he's not in position to do that. In fact, kind of picking a weird position, all things considered. Lucas, however, is going to be the one who's actually in the back line. He pulls out the blade, he decides to go for the tanks. But why? The Bastion's right there, he's stationary and such a good target. Well, it turns out the Bastion isn't such a good target anymore as he gets nano boosted. Nano boosting, ulting, Bastion. It's going to be a force to be reckoned with, or a force to be put down, as Unit Saber cracks the Bastion's hull with his hammer. Beautiful wing as a girl? Okay. Mr. Sin, now onto this Tracer play. Getting into a little bit of a scuffle. We'll get taken out. Wing equals... Shake my head. Fuck off, Tigo. Go fuck yourself. The battery. Have to figure out what to do now, because granted they've done a pretty decent job forcing the enemy team to swap off of what they had been playing, but now, in a bit of a precarious situation that gets saved by Transcendence being popped right at the exact right moment. Off of the back of that, they're going to start to do quite a lot of damage. The pin tries to go through, but pins don't work in this game, Unit Saber. What kind of monster were you to assume that a pin would work in the game of Overwatch? A Tasty, now coming up with his ultimate, gets a lot of damage done, doesn't manage to confirm a kill until he goes after Drees, putting him in a bad situation, so he gets taken out by the Genji. Lucas gets pulled down, a little bit of a precarious spot himself, only 18 health. I can't imagine he would live through this until he gets the support of his healers. Stick on a Unit Saber, but Unit Saber doesn't make the common mistake of walking backwards into his teammates, so no one's going to be taken out for it. Lucas, meanwhile, cutting, slicing. Manages to take out 2 healers and once more goes after the Tracer. The Tracer's in a bit of a bad place. I can't imagine Mr. Sen will do too great of a job getting out of this situation alive, and he doesn't. Ben Soccer now has the only ultimate in the game at the moment. If Equinox is on Hamster. Oh boy. Oh boy. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. This is not a good Hamster map. This is a mistake. If Equinox gets slept, if Equinox gets stunned, if Equinox gets run into the mud. Shortly after him, Mr. Cinder will follow, and now it's just a brawl. If you want to call it that, it's more like a slaughter. Dreves, purple, weak, a tasty cookie. Wants a little bit more to bite on. 2 minutes left to go. If Equinox refuses to swap off with this hamster ball, he wants to get as much value out of him as he possibly can, but it's a bit of a weird game to play. It's such a big body, so easily beaten if you don't play very carefully. Unit Saber gets purpled. Has to retreat. Meanwhile, if Equinox goes straight onto the point, Mr. Sen finds an early pick with his pulse bomb. That's not a bad place to start. If Equinox goes all the way in the hole. Okay, Unit Saber. Gotcha. Unit Saber, meanwhile, finding that. Well, this ain't good, lads. I'll be quite honest. I might be about to leave. You know, I kind of knew this would happen. So really, this is my mistake. I really need Lucas to like win the game, like right here. Wasn't bad. Not bad. And they got it. Oh, that's bad. Oh, that's not a good thing. Well. Huh. This is kind of unlucky. Look, I'll stay until I'm forced off.
An expedient solution.
But,
I require
oh boy.
My shield's up.
this will heal.
Shield's taking damage.
Self-destruct sequence.
Well, here's hoping that the lab can win this one pretty quickly. Not gonna have time for interviews this time around, so that's unlucky. Pretty close game, all things considered. At least this one was. Battery's still gonna win. Yeah, no one's gonna be able to touch. Alright. That's over, that's out. This has been fun. I gotta run.
Play of the game.
Anyway. Goodbye, everyone. And anyone who watches this in the future, just to listen to me eat for like 15 minutes. I had a good time.